Right now, as I'm talking to you, there's something eating away at your dreams, and you don't even know it's there. It's working against you while you sleep. It's active when you're making plans. It's present in your quiet moments, and it's stealing from you every single day. And here's what makes it so dangerous: it doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly, systematically dismantles everything you're trying to build. You know, I've spent decades studying success and failure, and I've come to realize something profound. Most people think success is about what you need to add to your life: more knowledge, more skills, more connections. And sure, those things matter. But what I've learned is that success is just as much about what you need to remove. There are things living inside your daily routine, inside your thinking patterns, inside your habits, that are working against you with precision and consistency. I call them the silent killers of success. And if you don't identify them, if you don't call them out and deal with them, they'll make sure you never get to where you want to go. They'll ensure that 10 years from now, you're sitting in the exact same spot, wondering what happened to all those dreams you had. Let me tell you about the first one, and this one is probably the most seductive, the most convincing, the most dangerous of them all. It's procrastination. Now, I know what you're thinking. Everyone talks about procrastination. But stay with me here, because what I'm about to share with you goes deeper than just stop putting things off. Procrastination isn't just about delay. It's about theft. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you're not just postponing an action, you're stealing from your future self. You're taking opportunities that belong to the person you could become, and you're spending them on the temporary comfort of the person you are right now. I remember years ago, I met someone at a seminar who had a brilliant business idea. I mean brilliant. The kind of idea that makes you sit up and pay attention. And this person had done their homework, they knew the market, they understood the need, they had the skills to make it happen. So naturally, I asked them, "When are you starting?" And you know what they said? "Soon. I'm just waiting for the right time." 6 months later, I ran into them again. Same idea, same enthusiasm, same answer. Another year went by, and I heard through someone else that a competitor had launched almost the exact same concept. It was thriving. And that person who had the original idea, still waiting for the right time. Here's what I've learned about the right time: it doesn't exist. The right time is a myth that procrastination sells you to keep you paralyzed. Because here's the thing about procrastination: it's not lazy. It's actually very active. It's constantly working to give you reasons, to provide you with logic, to make you feel justified in waiting. Procrastination tells you that you need more information before you start. It whispers that you should wait until you're more prepared, more qualified, more ready. It convinces you that starting tomorrow is basically the same as starting today. But it's not. It's never the same. You see, every day you wait, the gap between where you are and where you want to be gets wider. Not because the destination moved, but because you stayed still while time kept moving. And time, my friend, is the one resource you can never get back. You can recover from financial mistakes. You can rebuild relationships. You can learn new skills at any age. But you cannot recover lost time. Think about it this way. If you want to plant a tree, when's the best time to do it? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today. Right now. This moment. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel completely ready. Now, but procrastination doesn't just steal your time. It steals something even more valuable. It steals your momentum. When you delay action, you're not keeping things neutral. You're actually moving backward. Because in the time you spend waiting, the world around you is moving forward. And fear, that's really what procrastination is, isn't it? It's fear dressed up in reasonable clothes. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of finding out you're not as capable as you hoped. So procrastination protects you. It keeps you safe. It makes sure you never have to face the possibility of falling short because you never actually reach for anything. But here's the tragedy. Procrastination also makes sure you never succeed. You can't fail if you never try, but you also can't win. You stay in this comfortable middle ground where nothing bad happens, but nothing good happens either. And years pass, and life goes by, and one day you wake up and realize that playing it safe was the riskiest thing you ever did. Now, let me tell you what happens when procrastination becomes a habit. It starts to bleed into everything. You procrastinate on the big things: starting that business, writing that book, having that difficult conversation. But then it seeps into the small things too. And these small delays, they compound. You skip the workout today, and it's no big deal. You skip it tomorrow, still manageable. But 6 months of skipped workouts? That's a different body. That's different energy levels. That's a different quality of life. Small delays create massive deficits. And here's something most people miss. Procrastination doesn't just delay results, it distorts your judgment. When you're constantly putting things off, you start to lose trust in yourself. You make promises to yourself and break them. Every broken promise to yourself erodes your self-confidence. You start to doubt your ability to follow through on anything. This leads us right into the second silent killer, and it works hand in hand with procrastination. It's excuses. Oh, the human capacity for excuse making is absolutely remarkable. We're creative geniuses when it comes to explaining why we can't, why we didn't, why it's not possible for us, even though it's possible for everyone else. Excuses are fascinating because they feel like explanations. They feel like valid reasons. They feel like truth. But here's what an excuse really is. It's a carefully constructed story that lets you off the hook. It's a permission slip you write to yourself to stay exactly where you are. I would start that business, but the economy is bad. I would get in shape, but I don't have time. I would learn that skill, but I'm too old. Every single one of these might have a grain of truth in it, but that grain of truth is being used to protect a mountain of inaction. Here's what I've noticed about successful people versus unsuccessful people. Both groups face the same obstacles. Both have limitations, both have challenges. The difference is that successful people see obstacles as problems to solve, while unsuccessful people see obstacles as excuses to quit. Let me give you an example. Two people want to start a business. Both have limited funds. One person says, "I can't start because I don't have enough money." That's the end of the story for them. The other person says, "I don't have enough money, so what can I start that requires minimal investment? What skills do I have that I can monetize immediately?" Same obstacle, completely different response. The person making excuses thinks they're being realistic, but what they're really doing is using reality as a reason to surrender. And that's the trap of excuses. They're often based on facts. Yes, the economy has challenges. Yes, you are busy. But other people with the same challenges, the same busy schedule, the same responsibilities are still finding a way. So the facts aren't the problem. Your response to the facts is the problem. And here's the thing about excuses. They multiply. You start with one excuse, and it breeds others. I can't exercise because I'm too busy, leads to I can't eat healthy because I'm always on the go, which leads to I can't sleep well because I'm stressed. One excuse creates a cascade of other excuses, until you've built an entire lifestyle around limitation. But the most dangerous thing about excuses is what they do to your identity. When you repeatedly excuse yourself from action, you start to believe your own story. You start to see yourself as someone who can't, rather than someone who won't. And once it becomes part of your identity, it's much harder to change. I remember working with someone years ago who was incredibly talented but going nowhere fast. Every conversation we had, there was a reason why things weren't working out. But after a while, I had to ask them a hard question. At what point do you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility? That question changed everything for them, because they realized they had become comfortable with excuses. Once they stopped making excuses and started making changes, their entire trajectory shifted. Now, this brings me to the third silent killer, and this one is particularly insidious because it happens so gradually that you don't even notice it. It's neglect. The slow erosion of important things through small, seemingly insignificant choices made every single day. Neglect is not dramatic. Nobody neglects their health in one day. Nobody neglects their most important relationship in a single moment. Neglect works slowly, quietly, through the accumulation of tiny errors in judgment repeated consistently over time. You know what neglect looks like? It's eating one unhealthy meal. That's not going to hurt you. But eating unhealthy meals day after day, week after week, month after month, that changes everything. It's skipping one meaningful conversation with someone you love. That one conversation won't destroy the relationship, but years of skipped conversations, that relationship becomes a shell of what it could have been. It's ignoring one opportunity to learn something new, missing one chance to read a book, to take a course, to develop a skill. That one missed opportunity isn't devastating. But a pattern of missed opportunities over 5 years, 10 years? That's the difference between growth and stagnation. Here's what I've learned. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And failure? Failure is nothing more than a few errors in judgment repeated every day. The difference between success and failure isn't dramatic. It's the accumulation of small choices. But here's why neglect is so dangerous. It doesn't trigger alarm bells. When you make a big mistake, you know it immediately. But when you neglect something, the feedback is delayed. You don't feel it right away. Everything seems fine. And that's exactly why people keep doing it. You can neglect your education for a year and still function. You can neglect your primary relationship for months and it doesn't fall apart immediately. But that delayed consequence is dangerous because it creates the illusion that the neglect doesn't matter. Then one day, you wake up and the consequences are real. Your health has deteriorated. Your relationship has grown distant. Your financial situation has become precarious. And you wonder, how did I get here? You got there through neglect, through the accumulation of small, repeated errors in judgment. Let me give you a formula that changed my life. Failure is not a single event. Failure is the result of accumulated neglect. Success is not a single event either. Success is the result of accumulated effort. Every single day, you're either practicing the disciplines that lead to success, or you're practicing the neglect that leads to failure. There's no neutral ground. The challenge with neglect is that it's always rationalized. I'll start eating better next week. I'll spend quality time with my family after this busy period. These rationalizations feel reasonable, but they're really just neglect disguised as planning. The antidote to neglect is simple but not easy. Do the thing now, not later. Not when conditions improve. Now. Take the small action today that your future self will thank you for. The action doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be consistent. This understanding of neglect leads us directly into the fourth silent killer. It's the lack of clear goals. Most people drift through life. They don't make a conscious decision to drift. They just never make a conscious decision to go somewhere specific. They have wishes. They have hopes. They have vague ideas about wanting things to be better. But they don't have clearly defined, written, specific goals with deadlines and action plans. And here's what happens when you don't have clear goals. You become a reactive person instead of a proactive person. You respond to whatever comes your way. You're not directing your life, you're being directed by life. Think about it this way. If you got in your car right now and I asked you, "Where are you going?" and you said, "I don't know, I'm just driving around." How would that trip go? You'd burn fuel. You'd waste time. You'd just drive in circles until you ran out of gas or got tired. That's exactly what most people do with their lives. They're burning through their time, their energy, their resources, but they're not heading anywhere specific. And then they wonder why they're not getting anywhere. Now here's what's interesting about goals. When you have a clear goal, everything changes. Your brain starts working differently. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but you couldn't see them before. You start making decisions through the filter of, does this move me toward my goal or away from it? A goal is like a magnet. It pulls you forward. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It gives you a measuring stick to evaluate your progress. Without that magnet, without that measuring stick, you're just wandering. But most people resist setting clear goals because clear goals come with accountability. If you never define what you want, you can never fail to achieve it. If you keep everything vague and general, you can always claim you're making progress. It's a protective mechanism. It keeps you safe from the disappointment of falling short. But here's what that safety costs you. It costs you the possibility of achieving anything significant. Because significant achievement only comes from significant commitment. And you cannot commit to something you haven't clearly defined. Let me tell you what a real goal looks like. It's not I want to be successful or I want to be wealthy. Those aren't goals. Those are wishes. A real goal is specific. It has numbers. It has deadlines. It has action steps. And when you have that level of clarity, something remarkable happens. You can reverse engineer the path. If you want to be there in 12 months, where do you need to be in 6 months? Suddenly, your big, intimidating goal becomes a series of manageable actions. That's the power of clarity. But here's where most people get stuck. They set a goal, and then they surround themselves with people who don't support it. And this brings us to the fifth silent killer. It's association who you spend your time with. There's an old saying, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I found that to be absolutely true. Show me who you spend your time with, and I'll show you your future. Because the people around you influence your thinking, your standards, your habits, your expectations more than you realize. If you spend your time with people who complain, you'll start complaining more. If you spend time with people who make excuses, you'll find yourself making more excuses. If you spend time with people who don't read, don't grow, don't challenge themselves, you'll slowly adopt those same patterns. It's not that these people are bad. They might be good people. They might even be people you care about. But if they're not going where you want to go, spending all your time with them is going to slow you down. But here's what I've learned. Your success matters. Your growth matters. Your future matters. And protecting those things sometimes means making difficult choices about who you invest your time in. Now, I'm not telling you to abandon people. What I'm saying is this. Be intentional about your associations. Seek out people who are ahead of you in areas where you want to grow. Spend time with people who have standards higher than yours. Because here's what happens when you upgrade your associations. You upgrade your standards. When you see someone consistently doing things you thought were impossible, you start to realize those things might be possible for you too. Your associations either lift you up or pull you down. There's no neutral. And the scary part is that being pulled down is easy. It doesn't require any effort. Being lifted up requires intention. And here's the thing. The people who are trying to pull you down to their level, they're not doing it maliciously. They're just trying to make themselves feel better about their own choices. When you start growing, changing, improving, it makes them uncomfortable because it highlights the fact that they're not doing those things. So they'll make comments. You've changed. You think you're better than us now? And these comments can be powerful. They can make you feel guilty, but you have to understand what's really happening. These are people who are threatened by your progress because your progress reveals their stagnation. Now, let me connect all of this to the sixth silent killer. It's the lack of discipline. Most people think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, but that's not what discipline really is. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. It's the ability to make yourself do something when you don't feel like doing it. Not because you're punishing yourself, but because you've made a commitment to your future self. See, motivation is easy when you feel like it. Anyone can take action when they're inspired, when they're excited, when conditions are perfect. But motivation is temporary. You can't build a life on motivation. You can only build a life on discipline. And here's what most people miss. Discipline is not restrictive, it's liberating. People think discipline means you can't do what you want. But actually, discipline means you can do what you want in the future because you're willing to do what's necessary now. Discipline is the price you pay for freedom. Think about it. If you have the discipline to manage your money well, you have financial freedom. If you have the discipline to take care of your body, you have the freedom of good health and energy. Discipline now equals freedom later. But if you're undisciplined, if you just do whatever feels good in the moment, you become a slave to your circumstances. You become trapped by the consequences of your undisciplined choices. Lack of discipline creates limitation. Discipline creates options. And yet, most people choose immediate gratification over discipline because they don't connect their current actions to their future results. Here's a simple test for discipline. What do you do when no one is watching? Do you stick to your commitments to yourself even when no one else knows about them? That's where discipline lives, in the private moments when only you know whether you're being true to your commitments. And this is where discipline connects to all the other silent killers. If you lack discipline, you'll procrastinate. If you lack discipline, you'll make excuses. If you lack discipline, you'll neglect important things. Everything falls apart without discipline. But here's the good news. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you do something you don't feel like doing, you're building discipline. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Instead, pick one area. Make one commitment. Keep that commitment every single day for 30 days. Then add another one. Because here's what I've found. Once you develop discipline in one area of your life, it starts to spread to other areas. The discipline you build in your morning routine starts to affect your work habits. Discipline begets discipline. Now, we come to the seventh and final silent killer. And in many ways, this is the root of all the others. It's your self-image, how you see yourself, the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Your self-image acts like a thermostat. It sets the temperature for your life. If you see yourself as someone who makes a certain amount of money, you'll unconsciously sabotage yourself if you start making more than that. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, you'll find ways to create struggle even when opportunities for ease present themselves. This is why you see people win the lottery and end up broke a few years later. It's why you see people lose 100 pounds and gain it all back. Their outer results temporarily exceeded their inner self-image, and the self-image pulled them back. Your self-image is formed over years. It's shaped by your experiences, by what people told you when you were young, by your successes and failures. And most people never question it. They just accept it as truth. But here's what you need to understand. Your self-image is not truth. It's just a story. And if it's a story that limits you, you can change it. Think about the things you believe about yourself. I'm not good with money. I'm not creative. I'm not a morning person. Where did those beliefs come from? Are they actually true? Or are they just stories you've repeated so many times that they feel true? Because here's what happens. Your self-image determines your behavior, and your behavior determines your results. If you see yourself as someone who's always broke, you'll make financial decisions that keep you broke. Not consciously, but unconsciously. But if you change your self-image, if you start seeing yourself as someone who's financially responsible, someone who's building wealth, your behaviors will change to match that new image. Let me tell you how to change your self-image. It starts with awareness. You have to become conscious of the story you're telling yourself. Listen to your internal dialogue. Notice the labels you use for yourself. Then, you have to start acting in alignment with the person you want to become, not the person you currently see yourself as. This is going to feel uncomfortable. But here's the secret. You change your self-image by accumulating evidence that contradicts your old story. If you see yourself as someone who's not disciplined, start doing one disciplined thing every day. That action becomes evidence. As the evidence accumulates, your self-image starts to shift. Every action you take is either reinforcing your current self-image or building a new one. Every choice is a vote for the type of person you want to become. And when you accumulate enough votes, enough evidence, your self-image changes. And when your self-image changes, everything changes. So let's bring this all together. Because these 7 silent killers are not separate issues. They're interconnected. They feed off each other. You procrastinate because your self-image tells you that you're not the kind of person who follows through. You make excuses because you associate with people who make excuses. You neglect important things because you lack the discipline to do what's necessary. You drift without clear goals because deep down, you don't believe you're capable of achieving anything significant. But here's the powerful truth. Just as these silent killers work together to hold you back, the solutions work together to move you forward. When you improve your self-image, discipline becomes easier. When you develop discipline, procrastination loses its power. When you stop procrastinating, you stop needing excuses. When you set clear goals aligned with a strong self-image and supported by discipline, you become unstoppable. The question is not whether these silent killers are present in your life. They are. The question is, what are you going to do about them? You can acknowledge them and then ignore them, hoping they'll go away on their own. They won't. These silent killers don't disappear through neglect. They grow stronger through neglect. Or you can take a hard look at your life right now and honestly assess where these killers are operating. Where are you procrastinating? What excuses are you making? What are you neglecting? What goals do you need to set? Where do you need more discipline? How do you see yourself? And is that self-image serving you or limiting you? This kind of honest self-assessment is uncomfortable. It requires you to drop the stories, drop the justifications, and look at the truth. But that discomfort is the price of change. You cannot change what you won't acknowledge. But if you face these killers head-on, if you commit to eliminating them from your life one by one, something remarkable happens. You start to see progress. Not overnight, not in a week or a month, but gradually, consistently, undeniably. You start moving toward your goals instead of away from them. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one silent killer. Just one. the one that resonates most strongly with you. And for the next 30 days, focus all your energy on eliminating that one killer from your life. If it's procrastination, commit to taking immediate action on the most important task each day. If it's excuses, catch yourself every time you start to make one and replace it with a solution instead. If it's neglect, identify the most important thing you've been neglecting and do something about it every single day. If it's unclear goals, sit down and define exactly what you want with specificity and deadlines. If it's your associations, start spending more time with people who inspire you. If it's discipline, pick one discipline to build and practice it daily. If it's your self-image, start acting like the person you want to become. Just one, for 30 days. Because here's what I've learned. When you eliminate one silent killer, you build momentum. You build confidence. You prove to yourself that change is possible. And that momentum carries over into other areas. And before you know it, you're not the same person anymore. You're someone who takes action instead of procrastinating. Someone who finds solutions instead of making excuses. Someone who maintains what matters. Someone who knows exactly where they're going. That person has always been inside you. These silent killers have just been keeping that person from emerging. But now you know what they are. You know how they operate. You know what they cost you. And most importantly, you know that you have the power to eliminate them. The real question is, will you? Will you do the work? Will you face the discomfort? Will you make the hard choices? Because nobody else can do this for you. This is your work, your responsibility, your opportunity. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it requires sacrifice. But in those moments when you want to quit, remember why you started. Remember what these silent killers have already cost you. Remember the dreams you've deferred, the potential you've wasted, the time you've lost. And then remember that it doesn't have to be that way anymore. You can choose differently. You can act differently. You can become someone different, starting right now, not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, in this moment, you can make a decision that changes the trajectory of your entire life. The 7 silent killers of success: procrastination, excuses, neglect, lack of clear goals, wrong associations, lack of discipline, and poor self-image. They've had their time. But their reign ends the moment you decide it ends, the moment you stop tolerating them, the moment you commit to something better. And when you make that commitment with action, everything shifts. Opportunities appear, resources show up, doors open, not because of magic, but because you finally become the kind of person who's ready to walk through them. That's what's waiting for you. Not just success in the conventional sense, though that will come, but something more valuable. The knowledge that you took control of your life, that you stopped being a victim and became the architect of your destiny. So the choice is yours. You can go back to life as usual, letting these silent killers continue their work, or you can use what you've learned here to change everything. You can stay comfortable, or you can grow. Because you only get one life, one chance. Don't let these silent killers steal that from you. They've taken enough. Today is the day you stop paying that price. Today is the day you take back control. Years from now, when you look back at this moment, you'll be grateful. Not because it was easy, but because you chose to do the hard thing. Because you chose growth over comfort. The moment is here. What you do with it determines everything that follows.